twofer, and that's that Patty's nephew, Alfred Cerullo, an accomplished actor himself, was going to be available to interview Patty. So that's what we get. We get a nephew who is an actor and an aunt who's a great actress. Mr. Alfred Cerullo, please.
Thank you so much, Richard. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you tonight. And before we begin this very special evening of conversation with my aunt, Patty McCormick, there's been a really special gift, I'll call it, that has been produced for this evening and for her by Sarah Hendrickson. Sarah's right there. So everyone just please take a moment and keep your eyes on the screen, and we'll be right back.
You sound like Fred Astaire tapping across the room.
But I can read people's minds. I can... You don't believe me?
Should I?
Is it true that when blood has been washed off anything, a policeman can still find if it's there? If he sprinkles some powder in the place, will the place really turn blue?
If you just sit there and don't do anything, then you're as guilty as Bruce.
Wait.
They admit it. They think that he killed her. Come on, Liz. You're drunk. Drunk? It's called depression. I haven't had a drink in years.
I'm not really waiting for a date.
I know.
Listen to me, you arrogant horse's patootie. You buy me out right now, or we go to court and you open your books. Somehow I have this big feeling that you really don't want to do that.
You sure you'll be all right?
Don't worry about me.
You weren't an idiot. Anybody can get uptight when they see someone different from themselves. It's easily overcome. All you need is a chance to meet them.
Jessica Fletcher, detective. J.B. Fletcher, the noted author.
Yeah, well, that's nice.
Say, I read one of your books. It was very good. Thank you.
Anthony, would you mind? We are trying to solve a robbery here.
Well, let's not talk about that now. Why don't you go outside and play?
Oh, I don't want to. I've got to grow up. I have to take her place. You said so yourself. That's why I sit with her dresses. I've got to love them as much as she did. More than anything. They're all I have left.
Cut. That was fine. Run it.
I told you we didn't need another rehearsal.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to the stage Miss Patty McCormick.
You know what?
I know we're an emotional family, so I can imagine.
We're all crying here.
We're all crying. So first of all, congratulations. I call her Auntie Patty, but I'll do my best not to bore you with that title all through this. But you know, I know she's crying. Let me just say this. It's a great honor for me, but I know how important you and your work are to all of your fans.
Yeah.
And let me just begin. We'll take a little deep breath here because she's emotional. I can see it. But it's not vodka, it's water. But you know, we're going to start with this. I guess the best place to begin, just to kind of kick this off, is really to talk about what is really a very special movie, Catio. I have not seen this film since I was a kid. Really, it's very complicated. There's a lot going on, beautiful stories. But I guess the most obvious question is because it's the story of really this journey of a child star. And of course, you were a child star playing a child star. So maybe you could just talk to us a little bit about sort of comparing sort of, I'll say real to real, two different spellings, but fact to fiction. Tell us a little bit about what that was like to do this film, being a child actor yourself, and was there similarities in it? Was it completely different? Just share a little bit of your thoughts about that.
This is one of the most fun jobs I had as a kid. I loved it. So all the people in it were great. Everybody behind the scenes, a lot of laughs, really nice. Anyway, but the appeal for me was that it was on what you saw, you know, her room and her house and all of that. That was, it was fun for me to pretend that was my life. Because in reality, you know, I lived in the valley, you know, in a nice little house, and my life was nothing like that. I was a working person, you know? So I enjoyed very much the illusion that that could have been me. So, although there's a lot of emotion in there too, that's real, and great humor, good writing. Boy, they were good, Jack Schur and
Jack Schur.
I confused him with Shay, who was a director of the Ropers. Anyway, and Cy Bomberg. They were a great team. And but the comparison was laughable to me a little bit because, you know, I had a normal life. It wasn't. The giant bear, you know, was great. You know, you walk in her room and there was giant bears and all kinds of dolls on shelves and
is there any part of when you watch this back, and I don't know the last time you saw this film, it's probably a while ago.
Oh, I haven't seen it in forever. Yeah.
Are there any
I
things
just remember liking it.
you remember, that sort of memories that got triggered about either fun times or challenging ones, or just particular ones that kind of you saw something and said, oh wow, I remember that.
Yeah, well, we had such fun on the boat. And the day that we shot the boat thing, it was Malibu Pier, and and although it said the boat said Paradise Cove, but maybe they're named that. I don't know. But that was really a fun day, and I swear I looked sunburned. You know, when
I'm sure it took a long time.
I read it was. That's one nice memory from it. Did I tell you another one too when we?
No, just
the
that
boat.
was the one you remember. I remember, and I do remember back in about. Tell me, okay, here.
Okay, the best part. I always wanted to get rid of my braids. This is the truth from day one. After I got old enough to realize they felt ridiculous now, you know, hanging from my head. And so the fact that it wasn't real because it was a wig, but the fact that I got to experience them cutting them off, it was thrilling. And as you can see, I still keep up the shortcut.
The shorter version.
Yeah. Once in a while I grow it long, and then I think, no, I'm going to take it off again. But that was so much fun.
Well, you know,
We had laughs.
at this point in your career, and I've done some homework, although of course I know you my whole life. Just for the reference, Patty is my mom's youngest sister. There were three girls in the family, and so I know a lot about her life and her work, but one of the things I never realized, although I always say math doesn't lie, is that at this point in life, Patty, you have one of the longest careers in show business. That is true, and it's well documented that there are probably a few dozen actors in the business that have a career equally. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. But you know, maybe just share for a moment sort of the beginnings. Just how did you get to be
Here?
you, the actor?
Oh, well, you know, to be the actor. Well, you know, I have to say that my work was different things in different eras to me. And life came in many times, and still does, that makes it go down, and you know, and then something happens and the work comes up and life gets reduced a little bit, personal life. But I found that people appreciate history of work now. Whereas in my time when I was younger and going through different transitions of ages, going from baby to child actor to, you know, teenager to woman to old person, you know, all those transitions I look back on now fondly, and I realize how one thing, I always make a joke that it's a wonderful career to have if you are independently wealthy, which you can't count on it, so it shouldn't be attached to that specifically. But you never have to retire. You never have to quit. All you have to do is be willing to get old. So you have to be willing to change as you change. You know, change the roles, change what you look for, try to learn from others. See, you know, have your heroes. I had Marsha Hunt, you know, who right? She's still good. She's still doing well, and she's going to turn 105.
It's a wonderful thing, as
October
you all know,
17th.
Marsha, who was an honoree here as well.
That's how I met.
Pre-COVID. Who played Patty's mom in a series Patty had, Peck's Bad Girl. And they're still in touch, and you still get to visit Marsha, which is really nice.
But anyway, I think what I'd love to say specifically is that it's really, I really appreciate so much how I feel lucky. You know, I feel lucky that I was able to have all of this career. You know, and it's not something I was really pushing. I didn't really push to have the work, as you know. But I got it anyway. I got enough of it anyway and then to have the pleasure of, at this late date, I had the pleasure of going to New York just about a year ago to start rehearsals for an off-Broadway show. I hadn't been in New York in a play for 60-something years. So Bad Seed was the last one. And so I think it was more years than that.
67 years or something.
So that happened. And then I came home and I got the joy of going to Canada to do a Christmas movie, but then this was about food. I don't know if you saw it or not, but it was called Always Amore. And it was about a restaurant.
Hallmark.
On Hallmark, sorry. Yeah. And that happened. And then now I have a video game, you know, that but it's for children, and it's called
Cookie Run
Kingdom. That's what it's called.
I fill in the blanks.
And I play Dark Enchantress Cookie. And it's about cookies, I swear to God. And so, I mean, I feel like there's no stopping me now. You know, I just...
You know, I think you raised an interesting point, and this goes to the journey of of being in the business, and I suppose really at the root of being able to accept a legacy award from Cinecon, but that you have worked in all of the different media, mediums, that exist. You started, in radio and live television and film, of course, and now it's sort of animation, and that's not everybody gets in stage, of course. And so, how do you think, like, there are things you're doing that didn't exist when you started?
It's so fun, it's just, and the stuff on the web, all that stuff.
Yeah. And just a question, because I think it's important to note this, and obviously so many people in the audience, and we watched Cathy-O tonight, which is a rarely seen film, which is just an awesome choice.
It really was.
But obviously so many people remember you from The Bad Seed, which you created that role, Broadway, when you were 8, did the film when you were 10. But that's had several different lives over time. And so why don't you, share this little newest chapter, which is sort of very respectful of you in inclusion in terms of the project.
That was Rob Lowe in 2018, I think it was. He decided he wanted to do a version of The Bad Seed. So he rewrote it totally, and his character as the father was the lead. The mother was not in it. And anyway, long story short, he said, would I want to play the psychiatrist into Grace McKenna, a little girl who's playing Rhoda, but not Rhoda. And so I thought that was a lot of fun. And I got to do a cameo in Rob Lowe's. And then now it turns out Grace McKenna and her dad wrote a script as a sequel, which Lifetime is doing, and it's on tomorrow night, I think. Yeah. It's going to follow the Rob Lowe one, and I was happy to do another little sequel thing, a cameo playing the shrink again. So it's teeny tiny, so you have to watch.
Well, I don't think that anybody could attempt to do any version of The Bad Seed without wanting you to be a part of it in some way. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I would say, because this is sort of a lot about family, this Cathy-O is a beautiful story, really about love and family. But I know my aunt would be very upset with me if I didn't just say that Patty's 2 children, and Danielle and Bobby, and their spouses, Jason and Angie, and 3 of her 4 grandsons, Nico, Drew, and Cooper, are all here tonight cheering on Grandma. And have really been amazing supporters of her in her life. How does it feel to have your kids, and then your grandchildren watching
it's amazing.
you?
And in the era that I lived in, you didn't make a big deal. I didn't about work at home, because you didn't know what the results would be, how the kids would feel about that, really, how it would affect their own freedom to develop and all of that. So a lot of us in my time made choices not to bring it home too much. And so slowly as you get older and older, more of it's coming in. And I think they like it because they are all their own people, and it doesn't matter anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't affect it negatively or positively. It's just nice to share. Yeah.
So, I'm just thinking of one thing, because obviously Cinecon and the unbelievable sponsors of this event, including Hollywood Heritage, really pay incredible respect to film and the history of film You know, some of the work that you have done in your career was on kinescope.
I know. I know.
And I'm sure that because of the film fans here and they understand that the technology of that, but few people know that you were the original Helen Keller in the first production of The Miracle Worker, which was on Playhouse 90.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I don't. Also a rarely seen production because of the kinescope.
Yeah.
You want to share some sort of memories of that experience?
Of Playhouse 90?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just always, I tell the story, but I always loved a couple of things about that job. One was, well, Playhouse 90 was wonderful anyway, because you rehearsed for 3 weeks first, doing, you know, and then did it live. And the music was piped into the studio before the, live, because it was live going out there, which explains the kinescope. But what I'm trying to say, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that I always wanted to have my dark hair. And so I got the opportunity because she had brown hair. And so thrilled. I was maybe 11. I think I was about 11. So I was so thrilled to have my hair dyed dark because it was, not naturally that blonde anymore. I started out a blonde, but I didn't. Anyway, got to have dark hair. And then the best part was that I had no dialogue because I was Helen Keller. And I just had such freedom and such joy in the rehearsal process because there was no pressure. And I discovered that it wasn't so easy in the end because it's like doing silent films. You think, you have to be awake for every single moment, especially if you don't have, a line coming up, or whatever. Anyway, so that's just a memory. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've gotten to see pieces of that over the
It's
years.
kid memories. It's kid stuff, not really actor stuff.
So in your career in film, when you think about obviously starting as a child, and then as you got older and did different films in different chapters of your life, as you mentioned earlier, the child, the teenager, the young woman, the woman. How do you think about that? I know there was a moment from Frost Nixon in there with Frank Langella and U.S. Pat Nixon in Ron Howard's production. Just share a little bit about that experience.
Oh, well, I was thrilled to, see Kevin Bacon outside in the trailers, playing his guitar in between scenes. Frank Langella and I really didn't communicate. I had, because he was one of those actors who stayed in character. And somebody's laughing. And so I know that when I heard Kevin Bacon refer to him, talk to him, and address him as Mr. President, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Pat Nixon. So I kind of backed off, And also he's very tall, so he didn't, and I'm very little. So I don't think he even spotted me, backing over there.
And I know I saw there was several clips from some of the sort of, I guess, American international films. There were a couple in there I saw.
I love that.
I think the Miniskirt Mob, I saw a
Was the
piece of
Miniskirt?
that.
Oh, and
Yeah.
oh gosh, the
Mary
titles.
Jane, I saw a couple, but what were those
Mary
like?
Jane and Kevin Coughlin was in that.
Yeah. So what was that experience like? They were.
All those indie movies?
Yeah.
It was when
Of the time.
this was, I went back to New York and I was there for a while, and then I finally decided I was gonna come out here on my own. And that's when I got into, I would do anything. You know what I mean? I'll do it. So they did a lot of those films like in a week in Arizona. And it was Maury Dexter, I remember, who did a lot of them. And it was a lot of fun, and that's when their father and I, you know, were dating, and we were married, and all of that. So that it's a very sweet time. But I just got such a kick to see Kevin Coughlin's up there, you know.
Yeah.
He was on I Remember Mama. We were children on it together. And then, yeah, and then he was hit by a car. He died young.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you, in your career, you've had friends and many people over the years that, who aren't here
yeah,
now.
so
But I think the one thing, I think probably all of us as fans of film embrace too, is that there's a chapter of everyone's life that's in film that is memorialized forever. And I think that's an amazing part of why it's so important to keep fighting and funding and supporting film.
And sharing older, you know, a lot of kids don't know, you know, as it's always true, who was Bob Hope? You know, they think it's an airport, you know. And so, and it's important, like, it's nice to keep all of that knowledge going. And it's easier now with the internet and stuff, you know, because people can share ideas and different, you know what I'm saying.
I do.
I'm tired. It's so hot, isn't it? It's like,
it is,
it's
but
debilitating. Yeah.
As they say, you know, timing is everything.
Yeah.
I see right off the stage, Richard, you're there, and
It's time.
it's almost time.
We could talk ourselves to death, you know.
But
seriously.
Yes, that's, if you haven't caught on to that, that's very true. But I right now, I have the opportunity to make the very special presentation that I originally was asked to do. I'm going to take it out. And I have to say, this is there's no question, this is one of the greatest honors I've ever been given. You've gotten to see a little bit of Patty, the grandma and the mom, the sister, the aunt, the daughter, the friend. And when you see her work, whether it's when she was a child or when she's not so much a child, but still a beautiful woman, she's just an incredible artist and brings all of those pieces of her to her work. And so I am honored to present her on behalf of Cinecon, the Cinecon Legacy Award. And so please join me in congratulating my Auntie Patty McCormick.
This is absolutely beautiful. I'm so honored to have this, and thank you so much to all of you guys. Thank you so very much. And he started it all. I know.
And thank you for being such a good audience and for supporting Cinecon. We know how important that is, and happy Labor Day to everyone. This is for all the workers in the world that make all of that happen. So have a wonderful night.